Welcome back on into Fox 43 AM Live. So we got some introductions here first. We have Dr. Crauer here with Kansas State Veterinary Center. I'm so sorry, Health Center.
Yeah.
So, and I also, of course, want to introduce Mr. Clark. This is Clark over here, guys, and he is probably the sweetest little bean that I've ever seen in my life. So we're talking a lot about his breed today, right? Aren't we, Dr. Crauer?
Talk a little bit about pit bulls today, if that's all right.
I would love to. Love nothing more than that. So I know our very own Dane Crowell actually just got a little puppy, a little pit bull puppy recently. So
yeah, we were talking about that.
He's very excited about it. So, you know, why do you think that pit bulls are so misunderstood and misrepresented in society?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. You know, just historically, we've thought of pit bulls and what do they do and how they're represented in the media, and it's really frustrating because I think there's this assumption that all pit bulls are aggressive and violent and dog fighting, and that's just not the case. That would be like assuming all hunting dogs and pointers are really good at pointing, or all herding dogs are really good at herding. And if you talk to some of the hunters out there, they'll tell you, yeah, the number of hunting dogs that are really good are really limited. And
very
so
small.
that we make assumptions about certain breeds, I think, is just absolutely false. And pit bulls, unfortunately, end up with this really, really bad reputation. It drives my wife crazy that we'll be out with Clark walking, and who is very friendly and gets along with all of their dogs, and you'll have people that jump across the street because they don't want to even cross paths with you on the sidewalk. And that is just that perception. It can be very, very frustrating, and it works against the breed in general as a whole, and really makes them less likely to be adopted and all the other things that we see with pit bulls.
Why are, I mean, and you know, I guess you used the term bully breed and before, so why are those bully breeds? Like, I just, the way he's looking at me, it's so hard to ever think that Clark could be a bully. He looks, he's the sweetest thing in the world. But why are these animals and these bully breeds, you know, so overrepresented in those shelters right now?
When we look at shelters, there's a few reasons why. First, big dogs in general get adopted slower than small, cute adorables. So they stay longer in shelters. That's one reason. So they move slower, but the same numbers are coming into those shelters. So that just results in more of them being in the shelter. And then misrepresenting or labeling. We end up with a lot of dogs that are called bullies or pit bulls that aren't really. When I first got into animal sheltering, everything was a lab cross. If they didn't know what it was, they called it a lab cross. Well, now if there's a muscular short-haired dog, sorry.
He can come up here with me all he wants. He's like, can I please?
If there's a muscular short-haired dog, we're automatically calling that a pit bull or a pit bull cross. And there have been really nice studies that show 40 to 50% of those dogs are mislabeled. So a lot of it becomes a mislabeling issue. So we have a bias against pit bulls, and then we're calling a lot of dogs pit bulls that really aren't anyway.
That aren't a pit bull, and that's, you know, you can't just label something a square when it's a circle, you know, and especially you don't want to put them in a box, you know what I mean? And so what has been your, I know he's over here giving me the perfect, he's like, sorry Dad, I really like this girl over here. What has been your experience as a vet with these bully breeds? I hate using that term, but with breeds like Mr. Clark over here.
Yeah, I would say that in 20 years in private practice, I can honestly say I never crossed paths with a client that brought in a bully breed or a pit bull that was aggressive in my exam room. Absolutely none. And when I think about many other breeds, I mean, I don't want to get any dachshund hate or husky hate or anything like that, but there are certainly breeds that I thought of as much more likely to be aggressive, much more likely to bite. But because we're an adorable Cocker Spaniel, you get a lot of leeway. You know, we'll put up with a lot of things from a Chihuahua that we won't put up with from a larger dog. And certainly large dogs, because they can do so much damage, need to be trained appropriately. They can't be aggressive, they can't be violent because they can do a lot of damage, but we have to recognize that they're not any more likely to be aggressive than small, cute adorables.
Yeah, I can vouch very much so for that statement right there, sadly. You know, but a lot of places have bans all out. I know apartment complexes have bans on pit bulls, even states have bans on pit bulls. You know, what are your thoughts on this, and you know, how are those even able to work? How are people able to do that?
In response to a lot of the fear that was driven years ago about pit bulls and large breeds, municipalities put rules in place. We have municipalities here in Kansas that have laws, and in general they don't work. They keep honest people that recognize the law from getting pit bulls or just not moving there, but people that don't follow the laws are still going to get pit bulls, and those people then don't have the avenues to get those dogs socialized, get them trained, get them vaccinated. And so it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy in that people that do have pit bulls where they're not allowed, generally the pit bulls are, or big dogs in general, whether it's Rottweilers or Dobermans or any of the banned breeds that sometimes come up, they tend to be less socialized and more likely to be problematic. So it doesn't really work the way we would like it to. Also, many of the laws are really poorly written, and they put animal control officers in a subjective place where pit bulls or pit bull-like dogs, and so you may have an owner that has a boxer cross, and for years they've got this wonderful boxer cross, and then they go to the park and an animal control officer says that's a pit bull. And so all of a sudden you've got somebody that's supposedly abiding by the law, but they're found guilty of a law that they didn't even know they were breaking.
Oh my
so
goodness.
They're really problematic, and it just doesn't work.
And just to, you know, I mean, to wrap up, we know, I mean, you have seen people, how sweet this adorable dog is, Clark. I mean, he's giving me kisses, giving me hugs. Now he wants food, of course. But what's a solution to all of this? How can we stop this from continuing?
Yeah, I think we need to really make sure that we're being responsible dog owners, whether we've got small dogs or big dogs, and not be discriminatory. Don't look at a dog and just assume it's going to behave a certain way or it is a certain way. And I think that way we can apply good dogs and bad dogs and the rules associated with them in an even manner. I think that's really what I would strive to do, and say, look, there's plenty of Clarks out there that are big, lovable pit bull dogs. Don't just assume that they're not.
I think that can be said for people as well, for sure. But
the message.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crauer. And thank you, Mr. Clark. You have been an absolute dream. And can I say my favorite puppy that has been on here so far?
My gosh.
So
well, thank you.
Well, coming up,